are watching Political Conversations.
Good evening. You are watching Political Conversations, and it's reaching you from the Enugu studios of Freedom Square TV. Of course, Enugu is in the southeast part of Nigeria. It's actually the capital of southeast Nigeria. My name is Uche Nasrilla, and I'm your uncle. Nigeria is hoping and praying for a 2027 elections to come. Many political parties are preparing for the 2027 election cycle. The APC, for example, is doing currently an online e-registration, to which many people have different views. The good, the bad, the ugly. Are they succeeding? Are they not? Are people willing to join the APC or otherwise? But while that is happening, the African Democratic Party has emerged as a central platform for a potential opposition merger. However, even before they could say Jack Robinson, there's a rift between the camps of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the former Labour presidential candidate Peter Obi regarding the nomination process. And what are the issues? Obi's men prefers a consensus, while Atiku's men prefer a convention. And that's two extreme divides. So Atiku Abubakar and his group have insisted on a competitive primary election convention, arguing that internal democracy must be evident. But why is he actually resisting consensus model being proposed by others? And so to answer this and other questions, I've been joined by a medical doctor, public affairs analyst, Dr. Chikezi Obasa. Doc, good evening.
Good evening, sir, and good evening, our viewers.
Well, you've actually listened to my first question, and for emphasis, I'm going to repeat that. Many supporters of Atiku Abubakar, including himself, insist they want a model that is traditionally known all over Nigeria, and that is the National Convention, in which delegates will come, decide who should be the presidential candidate, and they argue that it helps drive internal democracy. On the other hand, the P2B group believe that the others should sit down and decide who should become just a candidate, what they call the consensus model. And so, why do you think that Atiku Abubakar, first of all, is against the consensus model? And why do you think that Obi prefers Obi is opposed to the convention model?
Okay, first, I think this has a lot to do with their political leaning previously. Atiku Abubakar, for me, it's one person that has enjoyed going to conventions. You know, right from 1990, I think when they had SDP and RC, right down to 1999. Remember, he won the governorship seat of Adamawa State before he was nominated by Obasanjo, to deputize him. And ever since then, he had been moving from one convention to the other. So he has enjoyed that followership. He has successfully transformed his followers under PDM into PDP, from there to SD, to wherever he is. So he has a cult followership. Those you can say, these are ardent members of, Atiku political machine. And he's one man that has understood clearly how to win his opposition in conventions. We saw what happened in 2019, even when the primaries was taken to, Port Harcourt. And we saw how he roundly defeated, the weakest camp. We saw what happened in 2023 and how he emerged, as the prime candidate of PDP. So the truth of the matter remains that Atiku is more comfortable with a convention. And Peter Obi, again, if we take a look at Peter Obi, what's the political leaning of Peter Obi? Peter Obi was the governorship of Abga, candidate of Abga 2003. It was almost a consensus. Ojukwu, and a few other leaders, Abga leaders, gave him that privilege of, flying their card. I remember then, Abga was not a popular party in Anambra State. It was PDP that was popular in Anambra then. And by 2007, when he became the governor, and repeat 2000, I think 2013, am I correct? Yeah, in 2013, it was almost like a consensus. So when the pressure came into PDP, you saw that in 2018, he couldn't stand that. He went to Labour Party, where part of Tommy naturally linguished the position of, extended that hands of followership to him, and it was like an unopposed. Yes, that had been his own. That's why I say when we lay background, we understand clearer that each of them believe that what has been working for them should be repeated. So Peter Obi believes that if you go by consensus, he might have the day, it might emerge. If Atiku believes that if you go by conversion, this is a tested battleground, which I know very well how to maneuver. So that is just, they are all trying to, see if they could take advantage of what has worked previously for them.
Okay, so would you rather think or believe that indirectly Obi is admitting, or his camp is admitting, that if there's a direct contest in the convention, that Obi will lose?
It's an open secret.
Why?
Many of us had believed that Obi didn't do what he was supposed to do in ADC when it was up. ADC was coming. He just joined the ADC 31st of December. That's after prevaricating with Abure. He was the chairman or not of Labour Party. It became increasingly clear to him that he needed to leave the ADC. But let's remember the early days of ADC, when El Rufai, with Arau Fari Boshola, with Rotimi Amechi, we are transversing Nigeria under large Atiku Abubakar, looking for followers, looking for who to shop. They quickly identified their next move to be ADC, but Peter Obi didn't do that. So his members cannot be said to be inner caucus, the backbone of ADC. In fact, it was during that process that Peter Obi's spokesperson during the last election, which was Kenneth Okonkwo, if I remember, publicly shifted allegiance to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So Peter Obi knows clearly that within the formation of ADC, he is nowhere to be found, as much as Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and others, have shown. So for me, it's obviously clear to many of them. That's number one. Number two, it's known in Nigeria that the Nigerian political parties convention is a time where politicians, some of them are get paid for the next 4 years. It's highly monetized, and many a time in dollar format. Now, even Peter Obi has that money to share. With the way he has carried himself, especially the last election, we know to give shishi. It will become almost impossible for him to give anybody money during the conventions. Remember, that's part of the reason why he left PDP. So it's a trademark for Peter Obi that he wouldn't give money. And we know clearly that those coming for conventions are politicians. They are not interested in whether they give shishi or they give shishi. They needed their pocket and their stomach. They needed to take back something for the children at home. So if you take a look at that, you see that Peter Obi knows clearly that he they give shishi, no go work for convention. It's those that can give shishi that would actually carry the den in the convention. So, and like I said earlier, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has tested conventions. And telling Peter Obi today to start the planning of convention, which he has not, been part of in all his political, life, it might be difficult for him to navigate that process.
Okay, from what you said, it would appear that the issue is about structure versus popularity. Atiku Abubakar would often rely on a deep-rooted organizational structure. Obi leads on the youth-driven, obedient momentum. And so you have a method of convention and consensus. So, in your opinion, as an analyst, would you go for convention or would you go for consensus?
No. You can't. Let me be frank to you. In a Nigeria with multi-ethnic diversity and in a population of about 230 million, the right thing is to go by convention. And I'll explain. In 2013, was it 2013, 2014, PDP made the most singular mistake on earth by narrowing their form. If you remember their presidential form,
Okay.
was only one. I hope you remember.
They gave it to who?
And they gave it to Jonathan. So by consensus, they gave it to Jonathan.
Okay.
And we saw what happened in the election. There was a lot of sabotage within PDP. Now, consensus does not make anybody feel he wouldn't have won or he wouldn't have been chosen. You would always find reason why they were not chosen in consensus. Because it's a few people that sit down. You might say, he didn't choose me because he was giving money the previous night. These men have been promised of opportunities. That was why he didn't choose him. That if they had gone to the field, he would have emerged. So consensus may find it difficult, except where people willingly step down. Let me go back again. Remember 2023 primaries of Enugu State PDP. By consensus, people actually agreed to step down. What did we see that happened? Many of those that by consensus accepted to step down turned around and sabotaged the candidate of Pitamba. A typical example was the Labour Party candidate. Yes, he turned around and sabotaged, refused to, because he believed that if they had done through primaries, he would have won. And nobody says he would have won that primaries. And some of us who understood what transpired knew clearly that if they had done that primaries 10 times, he would have lost 10 times. Because the pendulum was swinging towards where the governor wanted it to go. But he didn't believe that because it was almost like everybody stepped down. And we saw Baton Naji, who agreed the general consensus of Pitamba, working assiduously as if he was wounded in the war, supporting another candidate that stepped down. So you see that consensus doesn't really work. But if it were by convention, you go there and you see Atiku, or Peter Obi, Atiku. My brother, when you come out, you say, and then that is when you see your strength. I'll give you a typical example. If you go into consensus, into convention, and 5,000 people cast their ballot, and you won your opponent by, let's say, 2,700 votes, and your opponent got 2,300 votes, you will not go home to sleep. You know clearly you are not going home to sleep. You
try to make peace.
Of course, you try to make peace. When he's coming on the table, you know clearly that, you won him by simply 200 votes. If he pulls his members out, you're finished.
Yeah.
So he has a bargaining, power. And now, if you refuse to do that, because once you do by consensus, it means that the other man didn't test his powers. And he still believes clearly that, look, we are too many who would have won the primaries. It becomes difficult to reconcile. People may place on the table stakes that are too high for you to meet up with. So there would definitely be cracks. I've given examples from national political party where the crack came. Let me remind you, if by 2015 there was consensus in APC that gave it to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I can tell you that Waziri of Adamawa, Atiku would have done worse than what he did. Remember when he lost to Buhari, he quickly withdrew a little bit. They had to go home and to call him. But he had no option because he saw that Buhari actually won him in the primaries. With all his political structure. He came back. You're right. But if it was by consensus, you wouldn't have believed. Of course, let's look at who is Atiku Abubakar. You can't take it away from him. He's a formidable force. That was one man that...
You win primaries.
You win primaries.
But he hardly wins elections.
No, it's difficult. You have people that are so tough winning him. So I believe that convention would allow everybody to test the primaries. And then it will allow people to come back to understand DMO. If we can guys money and the way you are saying what you are you can actually say this man came second. Now that goes to the other question you talked about by popularity. The statistics today didn't show that Peter Obi is more popular than Atiku Abubakar.
No, certainly. Of the coin toss would indicate that
I'll tell you. I said statistics.
Tell me.
I didn't say by what I feel.
Okay.
If I go by what I feel, politics of that we read on the newspaper is made up of those that are actually on social media. Politics is made up of people who are not even on social media, even mad people. So at the end of the day, what we'll discuss is how many votes did you get? 2023 election. Take a look at the two results. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar came second. Peter was the third person. 6.9 million votes, and the other one 6.1 million votes. So how will you now say he's more popular? Peter Obi is popular among the youth and those using social media. They have large mouths, I agree. But the truth of the matter is that by the statistics, and that was the question I keep asking people. I say, when you tell Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to step down for Peter, on what basis are you comparing the two of them? Now, Peter, if he must step down for Peter, Peter has to merit his stepping down, because if you go by the last election, he can add more votes than Peter. PDP had a better structure, which he handled. PDP had polling agents across 189,000 polling units in Nigeria. Labour Party hardly had up to 40,000 polling agents. You know, so and they couldn't get at the results. PDP had all the results completely. So you cannot tell me by organization and structure, you can't take it away from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And then by this election, you cannot say that he's not popular. The only thing you can say is that most of his followers are not loud-mouthed and are not on social media.
Okay, let's look at the issue of rotation, whether it is zoning or zoning on zone. There's also an original agreement, so to speak, on power rotation. How would this affect the choice? Let's assume, without considering, that Atiku Abubakar picks it and is a northerner. Or Obi picks it, is a southerner. How will the North react and how will the South react?
That is the greatest dilemma of Labour Party, of ADC. The best candidate today to have been candidate for ADC would have been the former president of Goodluck Jonathan, who by convention everybody knows he only has 4 years. If at all he has the opportunity.
If he wins.
If he wins.
He's banned by 4 years.
Yes. Again, the same man I mentioned his name actually destroyed everything you could say gentleman agreement. Because 2011, he had an unwritten agreement that was going to go for only 4 years. And then by 2015, he was already, in fact, he was a consensus candidate for PDP. And we saw how PDP woefully lost. They not believe it was their turn. And it didn't work. Now, that's the burden of the trouble the ADC has today. Yes, if Alhaji Atiku, let me take from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's step. If Alhaji Atiku Abubakar picks that ticket and Peter Obi does not contest that election, I can tell you the sentiment from the South. The average Southern person, up to North Central people, would not vote Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
Why?
Because they believe, why should it, there's this sharp divide across Nigeria, the North versus the South. The South felt, is feeling, a lot of people feels that the North dictates the powers in Nigeria. Who becomes what? In fact, some of our people will tell you that Sokoto dictates who becomes the governor of Enugu State. The separatist agitation, one of the mantras they kept saying is that the governors are serving their masters from the caliphate.
Which of course is not true.
It's just propaganda. But that is, unfortunately, that's what fills the minds of every other person. And politicians thrive on that propaganda. So one thing I'm pretty sure, if you pick a northerner today, there will be a protest revolt. Why must you take away a southerner because he's a southerner? So even those that do not like Bola Ahmed Tinubu will say, let us fight this thing to death. So it might be a very difficult one. And I can tell you that if you go to the North Central, it might be difficult for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to have that easy cruising at North Central. If you go to Kogi, for example, Kogi is predominantly divided into the Yorubas of the southern extraction, and then some not too friendly to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of Kogi. If you go to Benue State, the same. If you go to Niger State are predominantly maintain their stand with APC. Now, if you go to Kwara State, almost half of the Kwara State are, of southwestern extraction. So you see that North Central will be completely divided. Then we now begin to look at where the president picked his vice. If he decides to go northeast, you see that you have a very huge inroad there. So the sentiment will weigh against the against Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in the south, and then over there in the north, Bola Ahmed Tinubu will try to make inroads, into the north. Now let's flip the coin. It becomes P2B. One of the greatest tasks Peter will have on earth is convincing the northerners that he wouldn't go for 8 years. And I can tell you that because of what happened during Jonathan, that task, that particular story, in fact, it may irritate a whole lot of the northerners. And many will tell you, now we have lost the primaries. We have lost the presidency for the next 4 years. There are two people on the table. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whom we are very much assured is living in the next 4 years. And the P2B, whom we are asking him, please, can you keep to your words? It will be difficult for a politician. It will be difficult for him to make a wrong choice. The average politician who is not emotionally biased will go and make deal with Bola Ahmed Tinubu instantly.
But okay, many have actually expressed concern, and especially members of the ADC, about what they call a potential weak factor. And that's what they call a spoiler game. And they're wondering, supposing somebody loses, and then he started to sabotage the party from within, like Wike did to the PDP. And so the question is, can consensus correct this looming danger?
Consensus will not correct it. I've just said the consensus will not correct it. What will correct is that the party goes into primaries. People go conglomerate and have their primaries. The party can decide to say, whoever comes second, except Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, will be the vice president to who comes first.
Let me.
I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Let me add to that, which of course would appear to be likely. In the event of Atiku, because of superior structure, financial power, has a capacity to give and give and give and give.
It's a product of Yaradu, have you forgotten?
So, and then Obi loses. Don't you foresee the obedient movement, what you call youth withdrawal from ADC?
That's what I'm trying to point out. That the only convention
and
now,
those who may stay may continue with internal sabotage. Can you wrap your
yes,
thoughts around that?
yes. That's why I say, if you really want peace in ADC, the argument would have been, let's go to the primaries. Whoever comes first becomes our candidate. Whoever comes second becomes the vice presidential candidate. Except in the event Atiku comes second, then we choose the third, because legally speaking, Atiku cannot be another vice presidential candidate any longer by laws of Nigeria. He has completed this 10 years, so nobody will call you. Now, if they all agree, that's where obedient will not have much argument, right? But if you go by consensus, if obedient, insist on going over consensus, and their wish is not, respected, I can tell you they may tell P2B to pull out of the primaries and find a new political party even before the primary starts. I can tell you for free, because if you remember last week, earlier this week, Tanko Yunusa, the youth, the obedient convener, have been having it rough battle with ADC, political parties, where they keep saying that the obedient people should organize themselves, that they're trying to bully others into what they want, And Tanko Yunusa was trying to say that it's just because some of them are not. In fact, if you look at what transpired, you see that it wasn't that pleasant. So the crack is already happening there, if you really don't really handle it. So I am not seeing obedience standing if you don't go for convention. I said, we are saying this while flipping. we are taking it for granted that if you go by consensus, P2B will emerge. Let me remind you, my brother, if what I know, if what I predict as politics happens today, and you say go by consensus, I'm not seeing a Rauf Aribushola supporting P2B. I am not seeing an El-Rufai sticking his neck after P2B. These are the people that will make agreement on the consensus. I don't know if you understand. The consensus has actually forbidden obedience being on the table. Because you're calling on the political party elders. So we are looking at those that formed the party. Those that went through the thick and thick.
So that actually, let me add to the conversation by saying, in all this, where is Rotimi Amechi and El-Rufai?
Surprisingly, I keep telling people, you see, Rotimi Amechi is one person you may not joke with. If you really ask me, Rotimi is angling the vice presidential candidate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
You think so?
Yes, if you ask me. I am pretty sure Rotimi Amechi knows that he's picking the ticket will not be the sweetest thing for the South to win. But I can assure you that Rotimi Amechi may want a situation where they go for the primaries. So that if he loses, he might be made the DG campaign. He was one time a DG campaign of Abu and you saw what he gained after that. Or he might be picked as a vice presidential candidate. But I can tell you for free that if they go consensus-wise, it might be a problem. What will be the best is that the party, everybody goes to test his popularity. And if, for any reason, the obedient lose and decide to go or sabotage, the party will know these are people we are working with. What if you go by his consensus and they lose? What would they do?
Okay, let's look at Obi's pledge of a single term. How would you look at it? A strategy to woo the North? Or is it a realistic pledge? A single term?
Sorry, this analysis we are doing.
Yeah, of course. That's what it is.
2010, 11, it will be pledged openly that if the day he leaves Abga, that day his political career will die. And before every other person, he said he will never leave Abga. So did he keep that promise?
Events and circumstances forced him not to keep it.
No, this story we are making up now. Which
no, we're just saying the same thing.
I'm trying to let you know that there are men like Ekweme who events and circumstances would have sent out of PDP.
But he remained.
Yes, you formed a new governor who didn't do your bidding. But you can decide to say, to keep to my words, let me remain in this party. And lie low. We remember that Alex Ekweme was remembered only when they say Peace and Reconciliation Committee in PDP. But you will still see him, even at his old age, accept those jobs and still maintain peace. Olapedo George. I can go on and on to mention people that has kept to the promise of remaining in the political party. More recently, we know the whole thing surrounding Winji Nwobodo out of PDP. And it has remained a difficult one. So I'm just trying to say that even in circumstances that you do not like, you can decide to say, I pledge allegiance to this political party and this house.
And then you remain there.
You remain there. So now, I'm saying using him. Because these are things that people will put. Was he faithful to that political party called Abga? That's number one. We get back to PDP. He was in PDP. He supported Jonathan. He was a vice presidential candidate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. In fact, that is nomination as vice presidential candidate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar actually wrecked the party. Because many didn't see what he has done for the party to be nominated for such prestigious award. Those of them that felt bad still remained in PDP. They didn't leave. He that gathered the whole support, although they did an attempt and failed, actually left the party. So was he faithful to that support given to the party?
So you doubt whether he will be faithful to your one essential
I know you are making the deduction.
Is that what you always arrived at?
Now, we go back to what has happened. Jonathan. If anybody in Nigeria would have told Obasanjo that Jonathan would turn around to print only one card to renege on the agreement they had in the room, even you, Tiffany, okay, with all your political understanding, would say, no, Jonathan is such a very kind person. But what did we see? He didn't only say that, he didn't only make it like, I'm begging you, please. He went ahead and did it under his leadership, printed only one ticket, only one form, comfortably stopping everybody from contesting the election. So, when you put this together, and the histories are there, if you are a political pundit over there in the north, would you not take pledge of one tenure as an insult to your sensibility?
Maybe, maybe not. Let's talk about vice presidential speculation. Of course, Obi has openly denied of any agreement to be Atiku's running mate. Well, assuming the consensus he's talking about turns out to point to
Narrows him to a vice presidential candidate.
to Atiku Obi ticket. Would that be a political suicide for me? Would that be a political suicide?
The vociferous woman I know, Aisha Yusufu,
Yes.
she has said clearly that if Obi becomes a vice presidential candidate, she will campaign against him. And I'm not sure, unless, let me not say with 100% guarantee that Aisha will not do it. But if Aisha I know the kind of person she is, she wouldn't mind going to, in fact, she will blast Obi from beginning to the end to maintain her own integrity.
So she would rather if Obi loses, Obi should do what?
No, what is on the card, if you ask me? If Obi loses, they've said it clearly that even if Obi is in the Susu party, they will join him. What they will simply tell him, my brother, we have been moving. And if you listen to Obi, then they keep saying they are not allegiance to any political party.
Yes.
That the allegiance is to Nigeria and the betterment of Nigeria. The party does not matter. So assuming if we had a consensus candidate, Obi would have told people, Obi, don't go to any party. But because we wanted you to be there, join the party. If the party does not want to give you ticket, let's go to another party and move on. They believe they have what it takes to square it out in the field. So I wouldn't be surprised because, again, remember, Peter Obi didn't call Obidem movement. The Obidem movement gave Peter Obi the opportunity to be Peter Obi in Nigerian political space. Unlike what you can talk about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar Okokwanso, that have, those have their followers. He can actually address them. Peter cannot address his Obidem followers, and asking them to support him as vice president, candidate. It will be extremely difficult. Except he does it the other way by prompting them to say, okay, well, let us pick the ticket. Peter will be saying no until they say it's obedient movement that is asking you to pick the ticket. Peter would agree. But for him to say, gentlemen, you have seen how it happened. Let us now pick vice presidential ticket. I can tell you, Peter will run into trouble. Half of obedient movement in Nigeria will live in that very day. They will tell him, let's go to Isusu party. There is an Isusu party we can go. And we are sure we will win. And then if you don't take it away from them, where was Labour Party in 2023? Labour Party wouldn't have been among the first 4 political parties. But obedient movement gave that vibe, gave that hot chase. And I love what they did when it comes to political advertisement. Peter Obi didn't spend money, but they created an economic hub that was driving both the advertisement, the marketing of Peter Obi, and generating fund within it. So obedient movement is both a tech and economic hub. An ICT compliant set of human beings that their communication skill It's magical. And they believe that the Nigeria they have today is a Nigeria that must work. Those that believe in P2B or BDM movement do not believe that they have another country. Remember, many of them are abroad. Many of them are doing genital works. Many of them are young entrepreneurs who command a whole lot of respect, who are seeing the bureaucracy retarding their growth. So they feel if they put one person that is going to talk, doing their bidding, that they are going to do a lot of things. And I give it to them. The Biden movement drove Peter, and Peter would not want to lose the Biden movement. It's better that Peter loses presidential ticket than losing the Biden, because that is his relevance.
Okay, we're actually coming close to this conversation, but we cannot end it without talking about what they call the dollarized primaries. Well, those who support P2B have warned that the ticket must not go to the highest bidder. But those who support Atiku says, well, you cannot make what do you call it? If you have a lemon, you make a lemonade. You cannot make an omelette without breaking eggs. You cannot make an omelette without breaking eggs. So, do you see a possibility of a convention, a primary, without money exchange? People have to come to the place, stay in a hotel, and of course go back.
The first problem of P2B, we said it earlier, at the inception of formation of ADC, those people that believed in him would have gone to the whole South and Middle Belt to be the structural holders of ADC. That way, if assuming you are coming, you've gone to conventions. If assuming you are coming to a convention and you have 3 geopolitical zones that you are rest assured, even if you like give them 10 billion, they will still support you. I mean, you don't need anybody you don't need to give money and you win the convention. But not when you are there and the other people took position. And they took position, and if you say come for convention now, it is those people that took positions who come for the convention. My brother, issue of money, dollarizing it, unfortunately, I've seen I'm not supporting it anyway. I've seen in presidential system of governance, it is capital intensive. Money exchange, and in America they say you lobby.
Yeah, it's called lobby.
Is your lobby?
You donate.
You donate, you lobby.
They tell you how many billions you must get to do advert alone.
Have you forgotten when Elon Musk was giving, I think, $1 million every day?
Okay, yeah,
every blessed day. That was apart from $40 million he gave.
You're donating one.
He was donating $1 million. Is it $1 million?
$1 million.
$1 million every blessed day to see that Trump emerged as the preferred candidate. Have we forgotten that during that election, both Trump and Joe Biden sent Christmas gifts? Some of them sent people food items to people's homes. It happened in America. Now, so some of us understood clearly that it's only when you are running through a parliamentary system that you might minimize this issue of fund. But once you follow the presidential system of America, it is too capital intensive, and money must flow.
The opposition, especially the ADC, and I want to put this together, said incumbency will not determine the 2027 elections. But the way ADC is going, without a unified whether convention or consensus, do you think they can withstand the APC? That's one. Two, P2B has said and vowed that he will resist rigging in 2027. There's a fractured convention that may happen in ADC prevent the machinery of an incumbent.
Let me go by statistics again. Around the world, and 3% of the time, incumbents win re-election. In Africa, it moves to about 95%. So whether we like it or we don't like it, the man to beat is the incumbent. And that simply implies that there's an incumbency factor in it. In fact, for them to have said incumbency, they know clearly that there is this inherent incumbency factor in it. The state machineries are...
To 10 states in APC now.
28 states.
28 or 29.
Who is remaining? Now let's begin to look at it. Shey Makinde has no political party. For APC to break Kwakwanso and Yusuf in Kano, anybody who understands politics knows clearly that that was a very big fight. Till tomorrow, Kwakwanso is crying. We initially thought that Kwakwanso gave his nut, but we are seeing that it wasn't so. And the Ganduje actually did a whole lot of works there. So when you have almost all of the governors singing hallelujah praise towards one direction, it might be difficult. If you say incumbency factor doesn't work, you are making a very terrible mistake. That's number one. The number two, you need to look at the state missionaries. I ask somebody a question. My nanny came back, she's from Abakaliki, and told us that a bushel of rice, 25 kg, sells for 9,000 naira in Abakaliki. I quickly wrapped my mind. I said, so 50 kg is how much? 18,000. I said, is it possible? And when I asked about rice sold in the market, I found out that it came down to as low as 30-something thousand naira for 50 kg. This morning I heard that a penta of, is it a 200 kg bag of upper is now going for less than 100,000 naira. And beans has crashed. Food items have been crashing. And I talked with her, I said, look, if a bag of rice by December this year goes for 15,000 naira, 18,000, but whatever magic they are doing, do you think
okay?
Do you think the average Nigerian would say this man should go? That is original. Alfred one last week said that dollar is overpriced now. I don't know if you saw that right up.
Yeah.
A dollar should hover between 1,200 and 1,250 naira. And I said, last December, that quarter of the year inflation, I think December rated inflation to be 15%. And we are seeing some prices of items moving back. Now, what does that imply? If you put dollar to 1,000 something, it means that some people say, well, have gotten some money in their pockets. They are getting more money. Do you think if they continue in that affair, whatever they do, whether it's artificial, by December, some Nigerians would still be singing the man should go? Somebody will come up to say, yes, the magic we are telling you about the president has started yielding dividend of Democrats. Can't you see that the rice we used to buy 18,000 is now 18,000 naira? Something that happened last in 2015. Meanwhile, you have more money because during that time, the laborer only receives 4,500 naira, 1,002. But now you have 18,000, the laborer receives 5,000 naira. So the laborer needs to work just for about 5 days to buy a bag of rice. Previously, we need to work for about 20 days to get. And you begin to see it makes some sense. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm just trying to say what incumbent factors could yield. So anybody who thinks that the rigging is people will be giving money. And I'll still state the last one. An average student in Nigerian university today takes now fund money.
Okay.
You might think that is a joke, but that may not be a joke. I actually tell people, when the political party that is doing e-registration today is asking people to bring BVN and NIN, I wonder if the alert they begin to do.
They've denied the BVN.
But they have NIN.
They've denied the BVN.
But they have NIN.
Yeah, I think
they have NIN. But if assuming, of course, you know, if you have NIN, you have a social, it's like a social security number. So you can track back to the BVN and other. What if people start receiving a lot of social safety money? Maybe from July this year, every month 25,000 naira from federal government of Nigeria. Who thought that be poised to register their names as
well? Will they register again?
It will be continuous exercise.
Yeah, but they made allusion to that there might be something happen.
My brother, the rigging has started though. And again, anybody that wants to joke with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, call him whatever you want to call him. He has shown sagacity in Nigerian political space. For some of us who understood what happened in 2022 primaries and how he fought from outside, remember the political party, the APC had a party that disqualified him. He was not to contest that election. But how he fought from outside, come inside, took away the party, and it was a surprise to everybody. So anybody who thinks that that man who fought from outside open the door, drag the men inside the door out of the place, and he's now inside the room. You think you can drag him out by just mere statement? My brother, go and question yourself twice.
I don't want to spoil your moment any further. I think I want to end this conversation with this very predictive statement. I want to thank you for finding time to have this conversation this evening, and sincerely do hope that next time when we invite you, you'll find time to come. And to our viewers, of course, this conversation about convention versus consensus, Atiku's desire for convention, and Obi's plea for a consensus. The conversation continues after this. Of course, in any of our Facebook or YouTube at Freedom Square TV, always comment, like, and share our videos. That way we'll know that you are there. Thank you very much for being a part of this wonderful program. Join us next time. Have a lovely evening.